Hey everyone. So I was in a meeting with a short-term rental investor client of mine for about 1.5 hours. It was a nice, long, productive conversation. And essentially what we were talking about were the various benefits of investing in short-term rental. So I thought that, I will just quickly go ahead and record all the benefits of investing in short-term rentals because it's all still fresh in my memory right now because I just walked out of the meeting. The biggest benefit of investing in short-term rental is that by investing in this asset class, you have that ability to hedge the high interest rate. Because if you are buying a short-term rental for say $800,000, and the potential of that property to generate, if the potential of the property is to generate 100,000 in revenue, then even if the interest rate is 7.5% with 25% down, your numbers would still work. So I think that is one of the biggest benefits of investing in short-term rentals, that you can be interest rate agnostic. It really doesn't matter as long as you know where are you buying the property, you are underwriting the deal correctly, and you have the right team to operate the short-term rental successfully, right? So in my view, I think that's one of the biggest benefit of investing in short-term rentals. The other benefit of investing in short-term rentals would be a better cash flow, like I just mentioned. If you buy a property for $800,000 and the ability or the potential of that property is to say generate a revenue of $100,000, you obviously have a higher cash flow, right? Now, say for example, let's do some rough maths. Let's say you have a budget of $800,000. You want to buy where you should invest in a short-term rental versus a long-term rental, right? So let's do some rough calculations and see, what aligns with your goals. Now, let's say you are buying a long-term rental for $800,000. Say, for example, in Parker in South Denver, there are some new constructions happening where the builders are giving you an interest rate of 5.5%. So even if you're buying, say, at Trails at Crawford, in Parker for $800,000 with a 25% down, that's about 170,000 out of pocket. Even at a 5.5% interest rate, your mortgage would be in the range of 43 to 4,500 a month. And the location that I just talked about, Trails at Crawford in Parker, it's a nice upcoming area, but currently, if you have a new long-term rental that you just purchased, probably the maximum rent that you can demand would be in the range of 31 to 3,300. Essentially, that means that you are out of pocket in your investment, at least 1,200 to 1,400 a month. Now let's compare of you now going and buying a $800,000 short-term rental property, right? So you can buy this short-term rental property as your second home and put a 20% down. So you may be saving say 5% towards down payment upfront, and which you can actually use to furnish the property, right? So that is one of the benefits of investing in short-term rental as compared to a long-term rental. Now, if the property is generating a revenue of say $100,000 and your mortgage is say $60,000, and the other expenses of utility, cleaning, and hot tub, etc., maybe say another $20,000. So you're still cash flowing about $20,000, which you cannot, where we just compared investing in a long-term rental where you're paying about $1,200 to $1,400 a month from your pocket into your investment, right? So I don't know if you'll call it in the real sense, if you really call it that as an investment property, right? Because I think that's more of a liability for you. A long-term rental, what I mean. So short-term rentals definitely, the numbers work. Now, the other benefit of investing in short-term rentals that I think is that your ability to have that access to your property whenever you want. Now think about, if you have a long-term rental, when do you really get to access the property? Probably when you closed on the property and then between the tenant turnovers, right? So you probably during the tenant turnover, you go and you find out that your tenants has just trashed the property when they left, right? The dog peed on the carpet, he punched holes in the doors and walls. Now you would need another 1 month to fix up the property, and you now lose 1 month of rent, right? So now compare that to a short-term rental. So in short-term rental, what really happens is that, like in my experience, even if the guest breaks accidentally a lamp, they will reach out to me and let me know that, hey, accidentally, the lamp broke. Let me know how much to pay for it, and they happily pay. Now just compare now again with a long-term rental where you are going in for a surprise when you're going into the family, when you're going into your property. Whereas in a short-term rental, your guests themselves are telling that, hey, I brought something, I will pay you, just let me know. So your property is always well maintained, right? The short-term rental is also very well maintained because the property is at least being deep cleaned 4 to 5 times a month as compared to a long-term rental, right? Long-term rental, essentially, as a landlord, you really don't have access to the property, right? Whereas in a short-term rental, just think of, your family or friends visiting Colorado. You can just go into the calendar of your property and block out, say, a week to enjoy your property, all the benefits of your property and the amenities to enjoy with your family and friends for free, right? And somebody else is paying for it. So in my view, that's another big benefit of investing in short-term rentals, right? You don't deal with squatters, you have the access to the property, you have a better cash flow, and your property is well maintained. And to top it up, short-term rental income is considered as an active income as compared to a long-term rental income, which is considered as a passive income. Now, the biggest benefit of investing in short-term rentals is that you can do a cost segregation study and do a bonus depreciation on top when you invest in a short-term rental. And with that, you can essentially write off a lot of tax burden that you may have on W-2 if you are a W-2 or if your wife or your spouse is a W-2. So there are just so many benefits of investing in short-term rentals that I just discussed, right? So if you have any questions and you are thinking about investing in short-term rentals and you just don't know where to start, I think, if you can just drop me a message and we can set up some time to connect, and I'll be happy to understand what your goals are, your long-term and short-term goals, and then we can discuss on, what are the steps, we can take to ensure that, you achieve your short-term and long goals.